Excuses, excuses, excuses. If a store was a massive department store was to be opened and all it sold was excuses, and those excuses were actually so workable in any given element of your life, they would be selling it in huge amounts. But they don't have to do that. They don't have to open up these stores because excuses are found in the depths of the lies of the conscience. If a person's extremely repulsive, odious, and they are so about justifying themselves a little too much, it means that they're full of excuses. The ones who justify the things they do and justify their attitudes, their actions, their behavior, when so much people around them and situations are screaming at them that they're just about excuses, they are the huge problem in any element of life. To meet them on the bus, to meet them on the street, to meet them in the workplace, to meet them in a family, to meet them even the one that you may stand beside and say, I do. They're everywhere. And they're the revelation, the revealing to these people are the little things that they do, not the big things, but a lot of the little things. I remember meeting someone. This was years ago. I mean, and I knew I didn't really know the person, but I had an affiliation with this person with someone else, and so we had a mutual friendship. I I went on my way to buy something for this person, and it didn't fit them correctly, and so I asked. I got the Amazon return, and I asked them if they would mind put it back in the package and send it back to get my money back. Right. Well, they made up one excuse after the next as to why they couldn't, and the excuses basically came down to the fact that it was going to bother their day, or it was outside of the scope of the way they uh, the way they do things in life, right? Some people have, and they make the excuse for your kindness by when you do something for them, even though you see the need and you act out of a response of what a friend what a friend would do, right? They see it, they excuse what they do with what you give them by a mentality that you did it. It was your offer. They don't in any way, shape, or form see the motivation behind it, that you cared and that you actually reached out as part of a reaching out as a friend. They're not aware of these things, and if they are, if they ever, and they, boy, I'm kind of going a little slow here. When these things happen to them through their life, their consistency of the excuses they make for the kindness shown to them is that it's either owed to them, okay, or they have ways of manipulating people to do it for them, and they get more given to them. They do in their life. They get more given to them. And you kind of stand back, you go, well, that's kind of unfair. And they get more given to them because they're able to harvest from others using the bait of your good nature against you. They bait you by your good nature. The excuses go further for the ones who are doing the good, that they make an excuse for them. So excuses can hurt both the good and the bad, right? It hurts the bad person because in the long run, whether it's you got to come to your senses and stop making excuses for who they are and what they do. You get taken because they have a thieving nature. Okay. And they're very good at what they do. You have a problem, and I speak for myself, and I say this to myself, you have a problem when you look the other way, when everything was telling you that their nature was not appropriate enough for the end, the receiving end. So you're actually taking your gift or whatever you're giving them and throwing it into the dump. You might as well have been thrown to the garbage, into the compactor. You might as well have been get out a bunch of matches and just set it on fire. That's how much of a waste it was for what you did. And it really is. Your life composition will a lot of times be, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but if your nature is one of a really, we're talking nature, man. We're talking really, okay. You're just as natural as a beauty of nature, as even what I'm showing on the screen, how the waters are trickling and beautiful. Is that you have a specific flow to your life. There's nothing hindering that flow, and that flow will go towards the bad and towards the good. But God in nowhere commands us, or does he even encourage us to give towards the bad. As a matter of fact, he says that the certain aspects of his character is considered holy things. Okay, and when you're modeling his nature towards wherever you are and whatever you're doing as a messenger of God, he said, don't give holy things to wild dogs or wolves. That's what he's talking about, really. He says, and nor cast your pearls. Pearls were very, they were very valuable in the time from when Jesus spoke about it, pearls. And he says, don't cast them before swine. Okay. And he said, because the dog or the wild dog represents one who is consistently returning back to their vomit. And the wild swine, the female version of the pig, is the one who runs to her wallowing in the mire. She's always rolling around in mud. And this is what the narcissists do. They are consistently rolling in the mud and finding ways for you to get into the mud with them. So when you give what you give, and when you're doing what you're doing, your excuses for them will get you in the vomit and in the mud with them. Because the transaction has not become God approved. It has become deceived approved. So it's just something I'd like you to think about in your life and your giving and so on and so forth. It is of high value to be careful about the excuses you will make for other people. And some of the excuses to these folks who are really, really on the receiving end, and not only that, they receive what they receive because they're deceived. They receive so much of the rewards from the devil because it's not going to come from God. And their rewards will always be ones of unhappiness, discontentment, depression, a lower vibe. They cannot rise. And among the things that they have, and you find these people are consistently more about getting and getting and getting. Their excuses are varied so much around the fact that they're protecting this horrible person that they don't want anyone to see. And they refuse God from getting in there and delivering from that horrible person. Okay? The Bible says that people's conscience are either excusing them or accusing them. Narcissists in general do not like the accusations, especially when it comes with a full weight of enough evidence. The Bible says that on most of 2 or 3 witnesses, everything will be established. And they have enough in a courtroom evidence that says they are absolutely guilty as guilty can be. In the midst of all this happening, they will still have an excuse as they sit on the stand. God, who is judge, looks at them and said, what do you have to say for yourself? They will pull out the book of excuses instead of just saying, I'm guilty as charged. The guilty party has more of a leeway in the court system, especially the court system of God, of finding a lesser punishment than does the one who refuses to admit their guilt. So excuses are very dangerous in so many ways that people make excuses for the things they do, make excuses when they have a they're involving themselves in vices, and they have animals in the environment. Those animals are actually partaken of the vices, whether it be through smell or through taste or whatever the case is, and it's causing those animals a neuron damage. They have excuses even for that. Their excuses go far and beyond the place of diabolical, because they refuse to. And the thing is about not giving people with excuses a whole lot of leadway is that you have to. When I say you have to, but it's seeing clear enough to know their excuses are full of damnable qualities. They are so willing to even excuse the fact that they can do you a lot of harm. And when they're finished doing what they've done, they can excuse what they did. And one of the things that I find they're so good at it, it does throw you off because you live your life a certain way. You don't really go studying to learn what they're doing because you're busy learning to be approved, learning the truth, learning to be a good human being. You don't want to learn their ways because that's knowledge, and you don't want that kind of knowledge, just dark knowledge, right? But you learn to protect yourself, understanding the dynamics and the mathematics involved in what they're doing, the computation, because their way of seeing their excuses, their way of seeing their excuses that they are willing more than anything else to have you take the fall and not them in any given respect of what they're doing. And when they're finished, to get them what they got by getting some relief from their excuse, they will go on to do something else and excuse it once again because you all the time are playing the game of excusing them. So I'll just leave you with this, and you have a good day, and do like and subscribe. My inspiration today: the biggest excuse for a good person, is probably the painful excuse, is when you are excusing them from what they're doing. Don't excuse evil. Don't excuse it at all costs. If you can't confront it, if the person is too stupid, has gone down the pathway of too much darkness, you just basically excuse yourself from them and move on. You don't have to be well mannered about how you're going to excuse yourself. You basically just turn around and you leave and never return. Have a good day.